Part 9. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 82. Cyan light pillars are spread all over the small planet fragments. Each light pillar represents an illusion space. In each illusion space, there is the shadow of a little girl. In the fantasy space, Li Ke faced a pack of wolves, and the treasures in the storage bracelet were thrown everywhere by him as if they were free of charge. He didn't know how many times he scolded his father in his heart. These were all gifted to him by others, and they were actually given to him by others. So much has been lost here, it's a huge loss. Facing the pack of wolves, Huayu put up a wall of water with her left hand and a wall of fire with her right hand, tightly protecting the little girl, gritting her teeth and holding on for several hours. A pair of wings sprouted from the back of a handsome man, and he flew into the air with the little girl in his arms. When a group of people who had not passed the level came out of the illusion, smart people chose to wait around. They didn't know what those who had passed the level would get. Waiting was always the right thing to do. When a person goes in one direction, others may not think much about it. When 10 people move in the same direction, others will only be confused. When a group of people are walking in the same direction silently, what are they waiting for? Just keep up and that's it. The small planet fragments are large, but the cyan light pillar has attracted most people. So whether you have passed through the illusion or not, it is actually the same, just follow it. People with a delicate and agile mind will naturally associate it with the light of reward. If they think carefully about the image they see, they will guess what the final reward is. At this time, some people are already thinking about contacting outsiders. If they don't have the chance, then let the big guys waiting in Gukhan come in, and they won't get nothing by then. And these people are just thinking about it now. What if the priceless fragments of light are snatched away by themselves? Wouldn't that make a lot of money? If a person has no dreams, what is the difference between him and a salted fish? Aizayakui, who came out of the illusion, was slightly stunned at first, as if he didn't react. Then the next second, her body turned into a black shadow and escaped directly into the ground, observing the surrounding situation vigilantly. She hid underground for several minutes, and only emerged when she was sure that there was no scent of living things around her. Aizayakui first recalled what happened in the illusion, with a look of hesitation on her face. After being stunned for a while, she took out a black round instrument from the storage bracelet. This is a tracker. In order to prevent Yejing from collecting debts, she left a traceable aura on Yejing's body a long time ago. Aizayakui looked at Yejing's location on the tracker. It was hundreds of kilometers away from her, and it would be difficult to get there every few days. 3,000 spirit stones. Hundreds of kilometers away. Aizayakui put away the tracker without hesitation and leaned towards Yejing. Paying back debts is a matter of course. She seemed to have forgotten that this was the debt she had forced on Yejing. And Yejing didn't intend to give it at all. After Yejing saw the evolved furnace, he said he didn't want to deal with it anymore. He looked at his bracelet and thought that he wouldn't be able to use extraction in a short time. This was not something a poor boy could afford. Wherever you come from, go out. Yejing turned around and walked out of this white and flawless flower stone carving space. No, it was no longer flawless. It was tainted by Gori's black handprint. After walking through the dark cave tunnel, Yejing Gong was about to climb up the black hole where he fell, when he suddenly caught a glimpse of the embryonic spirit stone on the ground. Bend over. Grab it. Put a lot of them into the storage bracelet, and you can't go in vain. Yejing was still a little confused. Why did he feel that there were so many less prototype spiritual stones on the ground? Could it be an illusion? After filling up the storage bracelet, Yejing climbed up along the black hole. A ray of light shone into his eyes, and Yejing crawled out of the black hole. The first thing he saw was the dim sky. The second thing I saw was A big, disc-shaped, dark, and shiny face. Damn it! Yejing, who was startled, let go, and almost fell. He climbed out in a hurry and looked at the big face with anger. Why are you scaring people? I didn't say you were so ugly that it affected your vision. It's your fault that you came out to scare people. Gao Li has a black line on his face. Am I ugly? Am I ugly? Aren't I just a little different from Xiao Xianro? Why does this have to do with ugliness? Yejing patted the dust on his body and said angrily, why are you still here? Gao Li bared his white teeth and showed a naive smile, I'm waiting for you. Teammate. Team, you big chicken leg. Yejing cursed secretly. He would no longer be confused by this honest man's face. He knew very well why Gao Li was waiting for him here. He couldn't help but sneered, the debt between us has been settled. From now on, you take your Yangguan road, and I will cross my single plank bridge. We will never see each other again. After Yejing finished speaking, he turned around and left without any hesitation. The direction he walked was exactly the direction marked on the map before. Yejing walked quickly for 10 minutes, then stopped and suddenly started running wildly. He ran wildly for more than half an hour and was as tired as a dead dog. He stopped and panted, turned around and roared, can you stop following me? Gao Li followed closely 10 meters behind him, with an innocent look on his face. Actually, I also want to go in this direction. Good. Yejing was heartbroken, I will fight with you today. Anyway, I know where the marked location is, so I'm not afraid of not finding it. Then, Yejing turned around, changed the direction of the deviation, and moved. Sure enough, Gao Li behind him saw Yejing change the direction and followed him. He didn't know what information Yejing got from the illusion, but he followed him. 1 day, 5 days, he couldn't get rid of him for a lifetime, right? The direction of deviation. A day and a night passed, Yejing walked and stopped, and after a short rest, his brain was empty and continued to move. At night, he condensed the strength of spiritual energy and went to sleep. 3 days later, Yejing looked at Gao Li behind him helplessly, and said weakly, brother, can you stop following me? His war of sorrow had cooled down at this time, and he thought about whether to give himself a shot and then kill Gao Li. This thought only appeared for a moment, and he was extinguished by him. In these 3 days, he encountered 3 waves of fire demons and 2 local monsters. Although their strength was not strong, he could not guarantee whether he would encounter a powerful one. It was too unsafe to use war of sorrow like this. Yejing looked at Gao Li, who was as brave as a dead pig, and was speechless. Okay, follow me if you want. Then, he walked back to the right direction and started moving towards the target location. Transition chapter, I don't ask for anything. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 83. In the distance, hundreds of kilometers away from Yejing, Ai Xiaokui looked at the tracker in his hand with a gloomy face, his chest heaving slightly, obviously angry. After wandering around for 4 days, he had to change direction again? Follow, or not follow? This is a question. After hesitating for a long time, Ai Xiaokui shook his black robe, gritted his teeth, and followed. If he didn't follow, wouldn't these 4 days be wasted, a big loss? Yejing returned to the right track and rushed towards the marked location. He didn't care about Gao Li following behind him. If he wanted to follow, he could follow. Yejing was in a hurry to get on the road. He had been delayed for several days before. Maybe someone had already arrived at the place, but he was not worried that the light fragment would be taken away so easily. If it was so simple, it might be their turn. It would have been taken away by the person who controlled the illusion long ago. On the way, Gao Li pretended to ask casually, what did you know in the illusion in the end? Yejing ignored him and hurried on the road, tired. Gao Li asked again, "Where are we going now? Did the illusion give us the location?" Ye Jing didn't want to keep him company. Gao Li didn't give up and continued to test, "Is it related to the light of the illusion reward?" Suddenly, Ye Jing stopped, took a deep breath, and exhaled, turned to look at Gao Li, and took out the dog beating stick expressionlessly, "Let's fight to the death." He he. Gao Li saw the angry Ye Jing, and his heart jumped slightly. He laughed and said, "No more, no more, let's continue on our way." Time passed in a flash. 5 days passed. Ye Jing and the others had come to the south of the small planet fragment, which was the landing place of the fire demons above level 5 mentioned earlier. When they arrived here, the speed of Ye Jing and the others was obviously reduced a lot, and they were no longer as reckless as before. When they were in the north of the small planet fragment before, Ye Jing and Gao Li relied on their tyrannical strength to run rampant all the way, killing fire demons when they met them, and roasting magic beasts when they met them. But when they got to the south, they became more cautious and slowed down their pace. Just yesterday, the two even encountered an 8th level fire demon, and the blazing flames almost caused them to flip over. However, I don't know if it was an illusion, but Ye Jing felt that the closer he went to the place marked on the map, the fewer there were of fire demons, and the local magic beasts gradually disappeared. Moreover, what puzzled Ye Jing the most was that he met more and more people in the past few days. In front, or behind, on the left, or on the right, no matter where he went, there were traces of people along the way. Could it be that these people have passed through the illusion? Ye Jing couldn't help muttering in his mouth, "It shouldn't be possible, right? I shot myself and barely passed the level, how could there be so many people who are more ruthless than me? Impossible, impossible." Ye Jing threw this thought out of his mind, how could it be possible, there couldn't be so many people at all. Coincidence? Ye Jing frowned and thought, the same direction, the same target location, how could it be a coincidence? How did they know the map mark? Ye Jing didn't know that, in fact, 90% of these people were shamelessly following him. After walking for a few more days, they were getting closer and closer to the map mark in Ye Jing's mind. Just when Ye Jing thought he could reach the destination smoothly, he was blocked. Not only him, but everyone was blocked. In front of him, a long canyon that stretched to an unknown place appeared in front of Ye Jing. At the beginning of the canyon, starting from his feet, Ye Jing looked far along the canyon and could not see the end. What is this? Ye Jing was confused. He was about to reach the place, but he was blocked like this. He looked at the opposite side of the canyon. The canyon was about 100 meters wide. He couldn't jump over it. It was definitely impossible to jump over it. Ye Jing stood on the edge of the canyon, looked down at the bottom, it was dark, and the canyon was as deep as an abyss. It was impossible to go down. At this moment, a fierce wind suddenly blew out from the bottom of the canyon. The strong fierce wind swept towards the sky, frightening Ye Jing to retreat in a hurry. Isn't this too scary? Ye Jing's face was dark and gloomy. It has come to this point. Do we have to take a detour? He looked at the other people around him. There were also a few scattered people thinking about how to cross the canyon. They were also people who didn't want to waste time taking a detour. Just when Ye Jing was about to fall into deep thought, a warrior appeared. I saw a burly man who jumped down the canyon resolutely despite the obstruction of the people around him. Everyone hurriedly stretched their heads to look. The burly man grabbed the wall of the canyon with both hands, and his muscles burst out. Amid the exclamations of everyone, he suddenly let go of his hands. The burly man's body slid down rapidly. After falling hundreds of meters, the burly man suddenly stretched out his arms, forcibly adjusted his body in mid-air, and grabbed the wall next to him. All 10 fingers were inserted into the wall, as steady as an old dog. The burly man looked excited, let go, slid down, grabbed the wall, and repeated this action several times, then disappeared from everyone's sight. He is a ruthless man. Everyone thought in their hearts. The people standing around the canyon were silent for a long time. One of them hesitated and said, "It seems that this can be done." Several people nodded, "It seems that it really works." Yejing looked at the burly man who disappeared from his sight, touched his chin, and showed a thoughtful expression. He listened to what the people next to him said and agreed very much. They were practitioners, not ordinary people. Rock climbing and other things were easy. If you do this, you can really cross the canyon quickly. It doesn't take much time to land at the bottom of the canyon. It's just a waste of time to climb up. It's still faster than taking a detour. In that case, just jump. Yejing took 2 steps forward and stood next to the canyon. Just as he was about to jump down, a voice suddenly came from the depths of the canyon. "Ah!" The man's miserable scream echoed in the empty canyon for a long time. Immediately afterwards, a fierce evil wind struck from the depths of the canyon and shot straight into the sky. Yejing, who had 1 foot in the air, quietly took it back and wiped the cold sweat from his face. Yejing turned around and looked at the others. They had turned around silently, preparing to take a detour. "Let's take a detour." Yejing sighed, murmured, and turned to look at his side. "Yejing. Gori. Where are the people?" Yejing looked around and saw that there was no figure of Gao Li. "Another great transformation? I'm here. Pull me up. Is there a sound?" Yejing followed the sound and almost laughed. Gao Li grabbed the edge of the canyon with one hand and hung his body in the air. This was overthrown by the evil wind. Thanks to book friend 140418153092788 for the 100 coin reward. Thank you guys for your small votes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 84. Yejing was about to take 2 steps forward to pull Gao Li up, but suddenly stopped. As if he had discovered something, his face changed instantly, his eyes narrowed, and he looked at the deepest part of the abyss canyon. Gao Li was shocked to see Yejing stop and not lend a helping hand to him. The whistling wind below kept blowing into the sky, causing pain on his back, and his hands clinging to the canyon wall loosened a little. "Good brother, pull me up," Gao Li hurriedly urged, fearing that Yejing would ignore him and let him fall into the abyss canyon. "Shut up," Yejing suddenly shouted coldly. His dark pupils did not look at Gao Li, but were always on the deepest part of the abyss canyon. Where is this thing that attracted his attention? What is that? Yejing frowned. At the bottom of the abyss canyon, in the dark and cold valley, there was a faint light that flickered in the darkness and was about to fall. How could there be a light in this canyon? This made Yejing wonder, and a bold guess came to his mind unconsciously. No way. It shouldn't be possible, right? Just when Yejing was thinking about the possibility of that guess, he suddenly widened his eyes, as if he had seen something incredible, and his mouth opened wide. How is it possible? He saw a black shadow flying in the air a few miles away. Looking closely, it was a human. There was a pair of wings behind the human. Oh my God! Is this a mutant? Or a pure birdman? Yejing was shocked and speechless, and then he saw that the winged birdman, flapping his wings, fell from the air into the abyss canyon, and flew towards the faint light that Yejing saw. Sure enough. The moment Yejing saw the birdman flying towards the light at the bottom of the valley, he made a definition. The fragment of the light of despair was at the bottom of the canyon. He remembered something he had always ignored. Will the light of despair, which can penetrate the entire solar system, fall quietly and steadily on the land after it breaks apart? It's impossible. Even if a meteorite falls to the ground, it will also smash a big hole, right? Not to mention the fragments of the light of despair. Yejing set his eyes on this canyon abyss that was hundreds of meters wide, thousands of kilometers long, and bottomless. His eyes were full of shock and he swallowed his dry saliva. Originally, there was no such abyss canyon on the small planet fragments. This canyon was smashed out by the fragments of the light of despair. My goodness! You are so great! If you fall on the lonely city, wouldn't you be able to smash the entire lonely city in two? Gao Li seemed to have noticed Yejing's abnormality, but he could not hold on any longer, so he hurriedly said, "Brother, what's wrong with you? Pull me up. I can't hold on any longer." At this time, Yejing remembered that Gao Li was still hanging at his feet. He pointed to the back of Gao Li, in the distance of the abyss canyon, and said, "Look there, is there a ray of light?" Gao Li was about to cry at this time. It was already this time, why did I care about the light? But he still looked back, and this look made his eyes widen. No way. Yejing's face was solemn and said, "It should be." Swish. As soon as the voice fell, Yejing saw Gao Li's hand holding the canyon wall loosen directly. It's not that he couldn't hold on, it's not that he was blown away by the evil wind. He loosened it directly by himself. Yejing. They are all really talented. Do you even want your life when you see the treasure? Just jump straight down like this, aren't you afraid of falling into a box? Yejing secretly spit at Gao Li twice, jumped up, and jumped into the abyss canyon. Time waits for no one. On the other side, someone has turned on the cheat and pressed a pair of wings to fly over. If he gets the thing, who can catch it when it soars into the sky? No. Hurry up. In the abyss canyon, there is no light all year round, and it is extremely cold. Yejing was shivering all over because of the cold air. Although he also jumped down, he had already thought of a countermeasure before jumping down. The screams of the strong man who was blown away by the evil wind before were still echoing in his ears. The speed of falling was very fast. Yejing hurriedly took out the dog-beating stick from the storage bracelet, adjusted his position slightly in mid-air, and then inserted the dog-beating stick into the canyon wall. Then, Yejing's body was fixed in mid-air. He looked down and it was still bottomless and extremely dark. Yejing took a deep breath, pulled out the dog-beating stick, and his body continued to fall. After a few seconds, about 100 meters down, Yejing used the same method to insert the dog-beating stick into the wall again, and stabilized his body. Although this method is not as fast as those fools who fell directly to the bottom of the abyss canyon, it is very safe. Just when Yejing was about to pull out the dog-beating stick and continue, suddenly, a whistling sound that seemed to tear the space apart came from below. Not good. Yejing was shocked, the evil wind is coming. He hurriedly grabbed the dog-beating stick with both hands and held it tightly, fearing that he would be blown away by this strong evil wind. The cold and destructive evil wind swept across Yejing's body from bottom to top and rushed straight into the air. It hurts. Yejing sucked in a breath of cold air, feeling severe pain from the biting evil wind all over his body. His hands hurt as if they were pricked by hundreds of needles, but he didn't dare to let go, holding onto the dog-beating stick tightly. The evil wind came and went quickly. After a few seconds, the evil wind subsided, and Yejing's whole body was covered with sweat. After calming down for a while, Yejing continued his previous actions and pulled out the dog-beating stick stuck in the wall. Whereabouts? Then insert the dog-beating stick on the wall to act as a buffer. Whereabouts? Continue again. Just when Yejing thought he could land safely, a small episode made him laugh out loud. Just when Yejing inserted the dog-beating stick into the wall again, a voice suddenly appeared in his mind. Trigger double hit, this attack will cause triple damage. Yejing. Yejing saw an uncontrollable huge force pouring out of his hand, and he directly inserted the entire dog-beating stick into the wall, leaving only the handle. Yejing couldn't laugh or cry. If you don't come earlier, you won't come later. You come at this time. How can I pull it out? Yejing pushed his legs up the wall and pulled out the dog-beating stick from the wall little by little. This posture was really strenuous. The speed of descent was getting faster and faster, and Yejing could feel it was the end. Finally, when Yejing saw the bottom of the abyss canyon, it was only about 10 meters away from the ground. Without saying a word, he put away the dog-beating stick and jumped down. It's only 10 meters, easy and safe landing. Thanks to Little Flying Whale for the 200 coin reward. Thank you for your support. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Buletin G. Bayet. Chapter 85. A few minutes after Yejing jumped down the canyon, a black shadow passed by quickly from a distance and stopped at the edge of the canyon. Under the black robe, Ai Zyakui looked at the bottomless canyon in silence. The coordinates displayed by the tracker were right below. She had been chasing Yejing for more than 10 days for the 3,000 spirit stones, and she thought that she had lost a lot. Oh alas. A sigh came out from the black robe. What else can I do? Jump. Ai Zyakui's figure flashed and turned directly into a black shadow, hiding on the wall of the canyon and falling rapidly. In the darkness, she had a slight improvement in both strength and speed. This is the most unprofitable task I have ever done. The moment Yejing's feet stepped on the bottom of the abyss canyon, a cold breath came to her face, and she couldn't help shivering all over. So cold. Yejing leaned against the wall with his back, looking around carefully and vigilantly, fearing that some creature would suddenly jump out. The valley bottom was very dark and damp, and there were no living creatures around. Perhaps it was impossible for living creatures to survive in such a place. Yejing stood there for less than a minute before he took a step forward, thinking about the movement of the light he had seen before. Time waits for no one. If the Birdman really took it away first, he would not be able to catch up. When Yejing took the first step, a crisp cracking sound came from under his feet, as if he had stepped on something. Yejing looked down and frowned. Why is the ground so fragile? The step he took left a footprint on the ground under his feet. The dry soil was torn into pieces and could not withstand a single blow. This was just a casual step he took. If he stomped his feet hard, perhaps a 1-meter radius would be crushed. No way. When did the continent of the planet become so fragile? This is simply incomparable to the land of the lonely city. Yejing was very confused before. Under normal circumstances, the land would not be so fragile. When it was outside the abyss canyon, a stomp of the foot would create a pit. And here? Even worse. Every step you take is a pit. Does this kind of land have value? Or is it caused by acquired factors? It is unknown. Yejing walked quietly in the valley, and the whole canyon was filled with death. The cracked ground, the withered black grass roots, the gray nets in the cracks, the bones of unknown creatures at his feet, were lifeless, and he could not see any living creatures. The dead and strange atmosphere permeated the surroundings. Under the blessing of darkness, a trace of panic rose in his heart. This atmosphere was a bit scary. Is this footprints? There were some footprints on the ground, which should be Gao Li's footprints. It turns out that he didn't fall to death. Yejing muttered, and there was another competitor. Just after Yejing walked forward for more than 10 minutes, a figure appeared in his sight, standing still, as if waiting for someone living. Just when Yejing was alert, the shadow in front suddenly spoke, and it was a familiar voice. It turned out to be Gao Li. Yejing breathed a sigh of relief. Yes, he was the only one who could be ahead of him. The figure in front slowly walked towards Yejing. When he was only 10 meters away, Gao Li's face appeared from the darkness. What happened to you? When Yejing saw Gao Li's appearance clearly, he was shocked and frightened to retreat. The two had not seen each other for a while, and Gao Li's appearance changed drastically. No. It's not that his appearance changed drastically, but his condition and breath changed drastically. At this time, Gao Li's face was pale and bloodless, his bright eyes were also dead, and his originally strong muscles seemed to be very atrophied, as if they were drained. What made Yejing tremble the most was there was no breath between his nose. There was no rise and fall in his chest. Dead. This is a dead person. Yejing was so shocked that he was sweating all over, and his brain was in chaos. At a loss. How can a dead person talk? Why can a dead person move? In less than an hour, Gao Li was dead. Yejing was shocked. The figure slowly moved towards him like a zombie. At the same time, Gao Li showed a weird smile on his face. Living person. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Yejing forced himself to calm down, took out his dog-beating stick and held it in his hand, pointed at Gao Li's moving body in front of him, and slowly backed away. At the same time, his spirit was tense, his attention was scattered around, his eyes were erratic, and he observed the surrounding situation very carefully. Gao Li's silent death meant that there must be a very terrible enemy nearby. And one of the means of that enemy was to control the dead. The unknown is always the most terrifying. The enemy hidden in an unknown place gave Yejing great psychological pressure. Just when he was thinking about it, suddenly, Gao Li rushed towards Yejing as if he had been given some kind of order. No fancy moves? No ever-changing skills. Gao Li suddenly rushed towards Yejing, his feet trembling, leaning his body, straightening his shoulders, and rushed towards Yejing's thin body. Iron Mountain lean. Can't hold it? Yejing was shocked and raised his dog-beating stick to block it. When the two came into contact, Yejing felt as if a mountain had hit him. His hands were numbed by the vibration from the dog-beating stick, and his body fell backward uncontrollably, falling heavily a few meters away. It hurts. Yejing's back hit the ground, leaving a huge pit, and he felt a strong pain in his body, as if his bones were broken. This was his first time to confront Gao Li's strong body head-on. He didn't expect that he would be so vulnerable after the confrontation. The physical strength of the two was not on the same level at all. You can't fight head-on. Yejing got up from the ground and thought to himself that this collision almost broke the spiritual energy in his body and he couldn't bear it. In a collision, Gao Li's body was not damaged at all. He didn't give Yejing any time to relax. He took advantage of the victory and jumped hard with his legs. After stepping on the ground and making countless cracks, he jumped high and hit Yejing. The person controlling Gao Li's corpse seemed to know the situation here and wanted to crush Yejing to death. In this case, I'll give you another home run. Yejing was ruthless and held the dog-beating stick tightly with both hands. When Gao Li was about to hit him, he stepped back violently. At the same time, all the strength in his body gathered at one point, and the spiritual energy in his body surged up and covered the dog-beating stick. Since you are dead, don't make trouble. At least I can cremate you. Yejing roared and swung this blow. MOU's recommendation votes are so pitiful, please give me a few votes. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 86. Sometimes, the dead are more sacred than the living. The two of them don't have much friendship, and if they have to have any relationship, they can only be regarded as inexplicable teammates. But, even without friendship, Yejing couldn't look at Gao Li's body being so desecrated. When you die, you have to lie down quietly. When you die, you must be cremated quietly. I will take your bracelet and cremate you. Yejing thought silently and struck an angry blow. Yejing suddenly threw out this blow and hit Gao Li hard on the lower abdomen. Moment. Gao Li's huge body was thrown out by the powerful impact, and hit the wall of the canyon like a cannonball, hitting it several meters deep. The gravel fell, dust filled the air, and Gaoli's body was buried in the wall, unable to move. After the blow, Yejing hurriedly looked around, wondering if there would be an enemy coming out of the darkness to attack. His fingers had already been hooked on the storage bracelet, and he was ready to fight back, waiting for the enemy behind the scenes to appear. Pity. Nothing. It was still so dead in the canyon. How cautious. Yejing looked disappointed. In order to deal with the dangerous enemies hiding in the shadows, he was ready to blow himself up with a dog egg grenade. This method of killing people quietly and controlling the dead made his scalp numb. Once if he finds out, he will use all his strength to kill him. Then, Yejing turned to look at Gaoli, who was buried in rubble, and murmured, "It seems I don't need to cremate you." Just when Yejing was about to leave, suddenly, there was a crashing sound from the rubble, and a figure slowly stood up from the rubble. "Isn't it?" Yejing looked confused, the dust flew away, and Gaoli's strong body appeared in his sight again, unscathed. So durable? Yejing gritted his teeth, took out his pistol and shot Gaoli in the head. Bang bang bang. 3 spiritual energy bullets completely shot into Gaoli's head, opening 3 bloody holes. Just when Yejing Gong wanted to breathe a sigh of relief, Gaoli's body moved again. "Can you do whatever you want with your mother's death?" Yejing cursed loudly, with a look of despair on his face. The people were already dead, and they couldn't be killed even with physical blows. "What should we do? If you're already dead, don't make trouble for me." Gaoli's body was rolled up with gravel and dust, and he walked down from the wall and ran towards Yejing. In a blink of an eye, he was in front of Yejing, raised his fist bigger than a sandbag, and smashed it down hard. Bang! Yejing responded with a dog-beating stick. His palms were numb from the impact, but Gaoli was fine at all. He moved quickly and threw a sweeping leg towards Yejing's abdomen. "It's too late to hide." Yejing was shocked. He hurriedly filled his dantian with anger and puffed up his lower abdomen. Just when he was about to resist the blow, something unexpected happened to him. In an instant, a black shadow silently shot out from the wall behind him, sliding across the distance like a snake and intervening between the two of them. Then, from the black shadow, a long and slender leg stretched out, kicked Gaoli's knees from the side, and kicked Gaoli directly to the ground. Just when Yejing didn't know what was happening, a black shadow spread on the ground, and from the black shadow, a person walked out, wrapped in a black robe. Aizayakui didn't even look at Gaoli's corpse on the ground. She focused her eyes directly on Yejing. A clear voice sounded and she said urgently, "Quick! Quick! Give it to me. I've been waiting for more than 10 days. Yejing looked confused. "What can I give you?" Aizayakui took out a green blade from under the black robe, put it on Yejing's chest, and said gloomily, "You didn't forget, did you? 3,000 spirit stones. For these 3,000 spiritual stones, she chased for thousands of miles and suffered a huge loss. Yejing, if you want money, you need money. Don't say something so misleading." Yejing paralyzed his hands and was about to say no. Gaoli, who was unable to be beaten to death, got up again and interrupted what he was about to say. Bang bang bang. Aizayakui, who had been suppressed for more than 10 days, was very irritable at the moment. Without saying a word, before Gaoli could get up, she fired several shots at him, all in fatal places. "What's going on?" After a few shots were fired, Aizayakui frowned when she saw Gaoli, who was not affected at all. Yejing first took a few steps back and distanced himself from Gaoli, and then said with a solemn face, "He is already dead. This is because the body has been manipulated. Normal methods cannot make him incapacitated. Control the corpse." Aizayakui murmured, with a hint of cruelty flashing in his eyes, "To deal with the corpse, just disintegrate it." Yejing nodded. He had thought the same way before. As long as his mobility was restricted, it would be solved, and the people behind him would not waste their energy manipulating a motionless corpse. Although he thought about it at the time, he didn't have a sharp weapon in his hand, so there was nothing he could do for a while. Now, Ai Zayakui suddenly came out. She had many sharp daggers in her hand. I'll get his attention, and you'll cut him off. Before Yejing finished speaking, he saw a dark shadow flash beside him, and Ai Zayakui rushed over with slight steps under her feet. She held up the green blade in her left hand, and held the short knife in the backhand of her right hand. Her body was very agile, and she was in front of Gao Li in a flash. She squatted half-crouched, and after two streams of light crossed and flashed, her delicate body did a backflip and left the original place. Land. From the time she rushed out to the time she backflips away, the whole process was very fast, taking less than 3 seconds. After Ai Zayakui completed the execution, she seemed to be very confident in her ability to kill people. She didn't look back at all and walked directly towards Yejing. Behind her, Gao Li's body crashed to the ground after a short delay. I struggled many times but couldn't stand up. The nerves in his legs were cut off abruptly by Ai Zayakui. Yejing looked at the scene and pursed his lips silently. What else could he say? Sister Ai 666,666. A killer is indeed a killer, even if there is a muscle missing in his head. Etc. Your last name isn't Ackerman, is it? Ai Zayakui didn't seem to take it seriously, walked up to Yejing, reached out and took off the black robe on her head, revealing a delicate and cold face and short black hair. If you don't pay, he will be your fate. Ai Zayakui said coldly. Give, give, give. Yejing hurriedly took out 3,000 spirit stones from his bracelet and handed it to Ai Zayakui. You have been chasing me for more than 10 days. No, including the 8 days of hiding before, it has been almost a month. If I don't give it to you, it will be really bad. There's going to be a fight. Just give it to me. Afterwards, Yejing silently squatted next to Gao Li's body. He had stopped moving. The controller should have released the control. It's better to bury it directly. Yejing thought to himself, and gently took off the storage bracelet from Gao Li's wrist and put it into his own bracelet. This is the reward. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 87. Yejing dug a pit and buried Gao Li. He had always wanted to practice the skill of strong man locking man with him. Unfortunately, there was no chance. Standing beside Ai Zayakui, he did not rashly turn over Gao Li's storage bracelet, for fear that Ai Zayakui would come up and rob him and take a bite. This abyss canyon was full of weirdness. A faint deathly aura surrounded it. The dry ground was like foam and broke when stepped on. There were no living things except humans like them. Yejing turned his head to look at Ai Zayakui. She had taken off the cloak covering her face, revealing a delicate and cold face. She only took off the cloak, and the black robe on her body was still draped. He knew that under this black robe, there were more than a dozen dangerous weapons hidden. In this canyon, the fragments of the light of despair had a very large impact range, and at this distance, they could already sense that the spiritual energy in their bodies was slightly suppressed and could not exert their original strength. Looking in that direction, Yejing suggested, let's go together. Who knows where the person who can manipulate corpses is hiding? It is also possible that he has already reached the vicinity of the fragment of the light of despair. If you go alone, it is too dangerous and it is easy to overturn. Ai Zayakui did not speak, pondered for a while, and nodded. It would be a loss if she didn't go to take a look at this place. What she thought about in her mind was not the light of despair, but her debt. 95 million spirit stones. We must fight for it. There is only one road in the Abyss Canyon. The two will always go together. Going inside, the closer they are to that side, the weaker the spiritual energy in their bodies. The suppression of spiritual energy by high-level energy is simply too strong. The two of them were silent and walked forward cautiously for about 10 minutes. Suddenly, they stopped, turned their heads together, looked at each other, and saw a trace of solemnity in each other's eyes. In front, about a kilometer away, a strong energy fluctuation suddenly broke out. Several dozens of breaths surged out in front. The energy fluctuations that erupted together could be clearly felt even from 1,000 meters away. Yejing said solemnly, "The fight has begun." It was only 1,000 meters away from the real location, and the first group of people who arrived first had already started fighting. Aizayakui nodded, silently stretched one hand behind her back, pulled out a sharp short knife, and reached the other hand under the black robe, fumbled gently, and took out a green blade that felt extremely poisonous. She was ready to fight at any time. Yejing's eyelids twitched as she looked at the emerald green poison blade in Aizayakui's hand. If she was scratched by this thing, she probably wouldn't even be saved, and in this deep valley, there was no one who could detoxify. By the way, she should have brought the antidote with her, right? Just when the two were about to slowly approach the battle area, a figure suddenly jumped up from the front and flew 100 meters straight. He rolled several times in the air in a very embarrassing way before he could barely flap the wings behind him and stagnate in the air. This is the Birdman. Yejing looked at the figure in the sky and breathed a sigh of relief. This Birdman had the advantage of flying and flew directly to the place where the fragments of the light of despair were. Fortunately, he didn't get it. If he really got it, he would fly into the sky and fly freely on the small planet fragments. Who could catch him? If he was really more powerful, he might fly back to Blue Star directly. Anyway, it's not far from Lonely City, just below. There are aliens here. Aizayakui looked at the flying figure in the sky and couldn't help muttering. Alien? Isn't that a Birdman? Yejing asked in confusion. Are there general names for birdmen? Aliens refer to humans whose appearance and body parts have undergone some kind of changes when entering the country. They will more or less gain some special abilities, and the one in the sky should have undergone a change in his spine and grown wings. There are such people. Yejing was surprised, but a familiar figure suddenly appeared in his mind. When Hua Yu entered the country, didn't he mutate into a water and fire body? Acquired affinity with elemental spiritual energy, so, she is also an alien? The two of them turned their eyes to the Birdman in the sky, and just when they wanted to observe his flight trajectory so as to prepare for the response, an unexpected scene appeared. The Birdman was first beaten into the sky in a miserable state, and rolled several times before he stabilized his body. Before he could react, he saw that more than a dozen boulders were suddenly thrown up from below him and smashed towards him. At a distance of 100 meters, more than a dozen boulders drew a straight line in the air and smashed towards the Birdman. The Birdman seemed to be very panicked, dodging left and right, and was finally hit by a boulder and fell down. Bricks are specially used to treat flying creatures, which is absolutely true. Yejing just sighed, and saw that when the Birdman was falling rapidly, he struggled to take off, and was hit by a boulder on his wings again. This time he really couldn't fly. It's so miserable. The Birdman floated and twisted, turned several times in the air, and fell to the ground, falling in front of Yejing and Aizayakui. The Birdman was handsome, with fair skin, like a pretty boy. His golden hair was covered with dust, there was a black stone mark on his chest, and his white wings were black. He fluttered twice on the ground like a duck in the water, and then there was no movement. The Birdman was miserable, seriously injured, lying on his back on the ground without the strength to move. His lips were still trembling, as if he wanted to say something. The Birdman murmured in a low voice. Even a perfect man like me, handsome, smart, brave and courageous, who can defeat 1,000 men, can't win. After he finished speaking, his head tilted and he fainted. He passed out. Yejing, dot. Ai Zyakui, dot. Yejing said, "It seems a bit bad. Go over quickly and see if we can fish in troubled waters." Ai Zyakui, 50-50. Yejing, that's 50-50. The two of them seemed not to see the birdman lying on the ground, and they ignored him, walked around him, and walked towards the battlefield in front. Just as the two passed the birdman on the ground suddenly opened his eyes again, exerted force suddenly, grabbed Yejing's calf, and said weakly, "Ugly man, help." Yejing's mouth twitched, and he looked down at the miserable birdman on the ground expressionlessly. He raised his leg slightly, stepped hard on his arm, and then forcibly pulled out his leg. "You are a perfect man with clear eyebrows, handsome and unrestrained, smart and intelligent, brave and courageous, and 1 against 1,000, do you still need to ask for help? Why are all of them passive skills?" Author, Buletin G. Bayet. Chapter 88. Ugly man? Ugly man. Your whole family is ugly. Yejing was indignant. This was the first time in his life, including his last life, that he was called an ugly man, and it was by a same-sex person. He. Go to hell. Yejing stepped over the birdman's face without removing his wings. Yejing felt that he was quite peaceful. Ai Zyakui was the same. The word meddlesome did not exist in her dictionary, not to mention that there were important things to do now. The birdman was shocked when he saw the two people walking away. He endured the pain from his back and chest and shouted, "Wait! Beauty! Ordinary people! Help me! We can see each other in the future. See you, ordinary people!" Yejing complained in his heart. This was the first time he had seen someone begging for help. It was quite amazing that he had not been beaten to death in the first half of his life. So he should repent here now. Ai Zyakui didn't even pause, her face was calm, as if the call of beauty was not for her, and she didn't care about it. Ordinary people can't do it. Mortals can do it, right? Mortals can't do it. You don't want me to call you handsome? That's too much. I can't speak against my conscience. Although the birdman behind him was seriously injured, he still chattered, and Yejing was so annoyed that he wanted to turn around and give him 2 knives to help him get rid of it. The two ignored the birdman at all. It was less than a kilometer away from the battle in front. They might be attacked at any time, so they kept their spirits tense. The two people who were originally walking in the middle of the road in the Abyss Canyon also leaned against the wall, slowed down their pace, and moved forward slowly. They had no idea of joining the battlefield directly. It would be best if they could fish in troubled waters. After the two walked 100 meters. Suddenly, a heart-wrenching cry came from behind, which stopped the two people in their tracks. "Handsome guy. Pretty girl. I'll pay you with spiritual stones." Instantly, Ai Zyakui and Yejing turned around and walked quickly towards the birdman. "You should have said it earlier." This is what Yejing said. "How much money do you want?" This is what Ai Zyakui said. "Birdman, dot." The birdman was almost breathless. "I lost my storage bracelet when I flew. Can I owe you money first and add a super Q? I'll give you double the money when I go back." After the birdman finished speaking, he did not forget to stretch out his trembling hand and stroked his messy golden hair, trying to show his beautiful side. Ai Zyakui was also a little hesitant, and his eyes unconsciously glanced at Yejing. The person who owed money last time chased him for more than 10 days, and this time he still owed money. Yejing's face looked a little unnatural when Ai Zyakui looked at him. He looked at the birdman on the ground with a look of longing for it, and showed a look of disgust on his face. He reached out and took out his mobile phone, switched to the Super QR code, and handed it to the Birdman. "This place is quite dangerous, hurry up and add him." Birdman sighed, "Can't you save me first? And I want the super cute number of a beautiful woman, why are you so proactive?" Yejing's face turned black, this guy is really foul-mouthed. AI Zyakoi on the side shook his head, "What is super cute? I don't have it, but I have special debt collection skills." After adding friends, Yejing took out a bottle of red recovery potion from the storage bracelet and threw it on the Birdman's body. This was made by him, and there were not many bottles left. After drinking the recovery potion, the Birdman smacked his lips and said, 300 spirit stones, no more. Bang! A pistol appeared out of thin air in Yejing's hand, and the bullet shot out, hitting the Birdman an inch above his hair, startling him so much that he almost jumped up. This is a super god level recovery potion. 1 bottle will refresh your mind, 2 bottles will keep you from getting tired, and 3 bottles will make you immortal. The affordable price is 3,000 spirit stones. After Yejing finished speaking, he threw out 2 more bottles, then pointed a pistol at the Birdman's forehead and grinned, 10,000 spirit stones, you can now be immortal. The Birdman raised his eyes, looked at the pistol against his forehead, and felt the injuries in his body again, which showed no signs of recovery. This is a robber. AI Zyakoi, who was standing aside, watched Yejing's series of operations with a shining look in his eyes, as if he had learned something. He also took out 4 bottles of the most useless recovery potion from his own reserve and threw them to the Birdman. This is fine, 10,000 spirit stones. The Birdman looked at the 6 bottles of medicine lying around him, and he wanted to cry but had no tears. "Beauty, I can tolerate you giving me a crappy medicine, but can you tell me what this green bottle is?" AI Zyakoi said calmly, "Poison to prevent defaulters." "Big sister, you are more cruel than me." Yejing was ashamed, but didn't say anything. After forcing the Birdman to drink the green poison, they turned around and left. After drinking the poison, they were not afraid that he would default. "I did another good thing today, happy." After leaving, the Birdman lay on the ground and felt the injuries in his body slowly recovering, with a look of despair on his face. "I will be back." Not long. The energy fluctuations in front became stronger and stronger, and dozens of breaths were mixed with the dead air, which made Yejing feel a little uneasy. Dead air? Dead air again? Yejing's face became more and more solemn. Not only him, but even AI Zyakoi beside him also felt this terrifying death aura and tightly grasped the green blade of his short knife, not daring to slack off. The two leaned against the wall and turned a big corner. The battlefield in the center appeared in front of them. What the hell? The moment he saw the front, Yejing's pupils shrank sharply, he was so uneasy that he almost screamed. 100 meters ahead, hundreds of people with ashen faces, empty eyes, and lifeless faces were surrounding a dozen people, as if they were not afraid of life and death, one after another using their bodies as weapons. Hundreds of dead people. How is this possible? How is it possible to control the corpses of hundreds of people at the same time? Yejing's expression was shocked, and there was disbelief in his eyes. He had been attacked by Gao Li's corpse before, and did not see the second corpse. He thought that it was impossible for the corpse manipulator to control the corpses of 2 people at the same time. But now, the scene before him completely scared him. 2 people? There are 100 people like this. That is the master who controls the corpse. Unlike Yejing, AI Zyakoi seemed to be well informed. After being shocked for a few seconds, she recovered, looked around, and then focused on one spot. Yejing looked in the direction AI Zyakoi said. A cylinder emitting faint light appeared in Yejing's sight. A cylinder has no surface and is entirely made of light. What kind of light is that? There was a faint white light, densely packed with countless white particles, slowly rotating around the cylinder. This is the fragment of the light of despair. Thanks to book friend 140418153902788 for the 100 coin reward. Thank you guys for your votes. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 89. This is a beam of light without any surface. The space near its existence is in an illusory state, as if the surrounding space and time are like Schrödinger's cat, between existence and non-existence. Surrounded by illusions, this light pillar emits a faint light, but hidden in this light is a terrifying energy that shakes people's hearts and makes them despair. The light pillar is surrounded by countless light particles, and the particles are shining like fireworks that never fall, surrounding their main light pillar. The light pillar is not big, only half a meter high from top to bottom. This may be just a small fragment of the desperate light that penetrates the entire solar system, not hundreds of millions. 1 meter in front of the light beam, a slightly familiar figure appeared in Yejing's sight. Zhao horizontal bar. The one passenger who calls himself the Nugget Gate. Yejing looked at Zhao Xingban. He stood 1 meter in front of the light beam with his eyes closed. His whole body was covered with frightening black death air. The black death air was exhaled from his breath and inhaled from his breath, like a cycle. Generally, when the death energy circulated around Zhao Hanbang, the light beam seemed to sense something. The light particles flowing on the surface slowly flowed into Zhao Hanbang's body and blended with the death energy. He is absorbing the energy emitted by this light of despair. Such a definition suddenly appeared in Yejing's mind, and he was extremely shocked. He was actually able to absorb the energy of this light and use it for his own use. Isn't this so damn open? When Yejing saw the lifeless body standing next to him like a bodyguard, he understood everything. Nugget Gate. What for? Aren't they just those who robbed graves and dug up corpses? He's the one who hummed the corpse. No wonder he was able to control hundreds of dead bodies at once. It turned out that he had a special way to absorb and transform the energy of the light of despair. Yejing glanced at the death chi figures surrounding a dozen human beings not far away, feeling a little uncomfortable. Among the death chi figures, a few familiar faces could be vaguely seen. They are now all corpses controlled by Zhao Hanban. When Yejing and Ai Xiaokui approached, Zhao Xingbang seemed to feel that another stranger had broken in. He opened his eyes and looked at Yejing with a bloodthirsty smile on his face. Are you the Yejing? There is another one named Ai Xiaokui, and they are 2 good puppets. Are you really sure that you've got us? Yejing silently took out his stick. He now regretted not preparing more weapons. The only cold weapon in his hand was an iron stick. It was too uncomfortable. Zhao Xingbang looked Yejing up and down, as if he didn't see anything special about Yejing, and couldn't help feeling a little contemptuous. Seriously, I don't think you two can deal with the more than 100 dead bodies of mine, or are you already prepared to join them? Actually, I don't think so either. Yejing only dared to say these unconfident words in his heart. He stared at the hundreds of dead bodies not far away and could not think of any way to solve the current predicament. After all, there was strength in numbers. Turn around and run? Yejing looked at the path behind him and saw that it was blocked by rows of people. He secretly cursed the dead birdman in his heart. He didn't even know to remind him. No wonder the birdman had to run away at the risk of his life. It turns out that this place has become a dead place. The sheep enters the tiger's mouth. He couldn't help but look at Ai Xiaokui next to him, and found that she was still as calm as ever, with a strange light flowing in her crystal-clear pupils, and she looked calmly at the beam of light that was only less than 30 meters away from them. So confident? Or do you have a trump card? Yejing suddenly thought of Ai Xiaokui's mysterious and elusive shadow ability, which allowed her to enter and leave uninhabited places at will. It turns out I'm the only one who can't run away. At this moment, Zhao Hanbang, who was exuding despair and death, suddenly spoke. His eyes looked at the beam of light that seemed to not exist in this time and space, showing fascination. The light pillar stagnated in mid-air, slowly rotating, with light particles flowing from bottom to top, and the surrounding area was empty and blurry, like an illusion or a god. Do you know its name? Its name? Yejing was stunned for a moment and turned his eyes to the light pillar. He really didn't know that he knew very little about this light. The only contact he had with it was just the scene he saw in the illusion. In the final analysis, it is because his level is too low and he has no access to such a powerful thing. 100 years ago, when it appeared, it was labeled as the end. The superiors called it the Omega beam. Omega means the end of all things, which means that its appearance can end everything. And the hundreds of thousands of fragments it split into are called Omega sublights. All Blue Star executives are studying the terrifying energy contained in them. They are the most precious and priceless treasure on the entire Blue Star. Omega sublight. Yejing murmured, a very flavorful name, and also a very correct name. Its appearance is accompanied by the end of countless creatures. The most precious, priceless treasure. Aizayakui murmured. When she heard these two words, her hands were shaking with excitement, as if she couldn't suppress her heart. However, she still suppressed the excitement of wanting in her heart, and vigilantly observed the surrounding environment and the enemy's movements, thinking about a favorable battle plan. Zhao Danggong waved his hand, and the black death energy surged from the ground. His whole body was bathed in the majestic death energy, and his face showed an expression of enjoyment. When I just stood on this small planet fragment, I knew that there was Omega light on this land. He stomped his feet casually, and several curved cracks appeared on the ground, spreading to the surroundings, and a small shallow pit appeared. Look at this shabby land, so fragile, it breaks when stepped on. This is not just the situation around here, the whole small planet fragment is like this. This small planet fragment has no mass at all. He originally just wanted to come to this small planet fragment to find some resources for his own use. Who knew that when one foot stepped on it, he actually found something that made him excited? This is a dead small planet fragment. There is no life in its soil. His land was fragile. At that time, he only had a guess in his mind that he dared not think about. When he walked for several days and got a trace of Omega sublight from the illusion, he was immediately convinced. There was an Omega sublight on this small planet fragment. This made him almost faint with excitement. Then, he squatted outside the illusion, waiting for the person who passed the illusion, and followed step by step to here. Then, he killed a person and turned him into a puppet of a dead person. One by one. 5. 10. Then, he could use these 10 dead people as protection and use secret methods to absorb the high-level energy in the Omega sublight for his own use. Then, other people arrived. The number of dead people increased from 10 to 50, and then to 100. Until now, he has controlled this area. As long as all the people who have arrived here are turned into dead puppets, he can safely absorb the energy in this piece of Omega sublight without being disturbed by the outside world. Whether it's 1 month or 2 months. He can sit still. The Omega beam has an unstoppable mysterious energy, even if it's only 1/1000th of the sublight. Zhao Danggong stretched out a hand and slowly reached out to the sublight, but stopped in mid-air, as if he couldn't touch it, and retracted his hand. When this Omega sublight fell on this small planet fragment without any hindrance, its fate was already doomed. All the vitality on this asteroid fragment was absorbed by the Omega sublight. This is the erosion of lower energy by higher energy. After the Omega sublight fell on this small planet fragment, it unscrupulously absorbed the energy it contained without any hindrance. Decades have passed, and this continent has long lost its vitality and turned into a dead place. This is also the reason why this land is so fragile. The vitality is already in jeopardy, so how can it take care of the surface? Just like comparing this small planet fragment with the vibrant blue star fragment in Gukhan, it is probably a 1 to 10 situation. So that's what I mean. Zhao Danggong suddenly waved his hand, and hundreds of dead bodies surrounded Yejing and Ai Xiaokui tightly, leaving no gaps. You should sacrifice your lives for my Omega sublight. Huh. Yejing glanced around, there was no gap, it was really tightly surrounded, not even a fly could fly out. Maybe just now, the Birdman was surrounded like this, and then suddenly spread his wings and flew out while he was stunned, but he was almost killed by rocks. But now, Yejing looked at Ai Xiaokui who could hide in the shadow beside him, and fell into deep thought. I don't have wings. I don't have shadows. The problem is, what should I do? Suddenly, Yejing remembered one of his passive skills. No. I also have wings. Invisible wings. When near walls, bushes, and other covering objects, if you stay still for 3 seconds, you will enter the invisible state, move to reveal yourself, and block the breath perception of the host below one major realm, consuming 1% of the spiritual energy in the body every second. Damn. It's useless. Zhao Danggong looked at Yejing and Ai Xiaokui who were vigilantly sticking together, and couldn't help showing a bloodthirsty smile. He opened his mouth, laughed wildly, and then said, kill them, and then, come one, kill one. After Zhao Danggong gave the order, he faced the Omega sublight again, and the Black Death energy on his body gushed out, echoing the energy revealed by the Omega sublight. Continue to absorb. On the other side, Yejing's face was solemn and gloomy, and he fell into a huge crisis. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Buletin G. Bayet. Chapter 90. What configuration is needed for a team battle? There must be warriors, output, assassins, ranged, and meat shields. Yejing looked at himself, barely a warrior. He looked at Ai Xiaokui who was surrounded together, she was an assassin. And then? That's it? This is a bit despairing. Look for a chance to kill Zhao Danggong. As long as he dies, these controlled dead bodies will probably stop. Yejing pursed his lips and turned to Ai Xiaokui beside him. However, as soon as he turned his head, he found that there was no one beside him, leaving him standing alone. Where are the people? Yejing was at a loss, looking along the ground, a black shadow stuck to the surface, and passed through the human wall made of hundreds of dead bodies at lightning speed, and rushed towards Zhao Danggong. Yejing, I really want to fight 100. Yejing's mouth twitched, and there was no time to think about anything. His aura changed completely, and the whole person was like a sword drawn from its sheath. Facing hundreds of dead bodies, his aura was like a rainbow. When Yejing entered the combat state, the spiritual energy in his body was instantly mobilized by him. The aura that was originally suppressed by the Omega light and was somewhat dead came alive again. Although the power decreased slightly, it was better than nothing. The faint white aura surrounded Yejing, and weak aura fluctuations spread out in all directions. Yejing held the dog-beating stick in his hand, with a fierce look in his eyes, and suddenly exerted force under his feet and rushed out. Ha! With a loud shout, morale was like a rainbow. Yejing shot out like an arrow that had been released from the string. The moment he jumped out, the ground under his feet sank slightly, and he stepped out a deep pit. In a blink of an eye, Yejing took the initiative and rushed directly into the pile of dead bodies, holding the dog-beating stick high and swinging it. Under the tyrannical force, 2 or 3 dead bodies were directly hit head-on, thrown out, and hit several bodies behind them, falling down. This kind of dead body no longer has the blessing of spiritual energy on the body, only pure physical strength. If it is a one-on-one fight, Yejing can say that it is very easy. But the problem now is that they have no consciousness at all and will not fight him one-on-one. Hundreds of tough guys directly pressed towards Yejing, like a group of demons dancing wildly, giving him huge pressure. Fight, can't beat, kill, can't kill. This is the most uncomfortable for Yejing. He can only aim at the legs of the dead bodies, and under heavy blows, break their knees and legs, and lose their mobility. Facing the corpses, Yejing will not show mercy. Anyway, they are all dead, so he is not afraid of dying again. In a short moment, Yejing lowered his head and rushed into the pile of dead bodies, waving the dog-beating stick in his hand like a demon, slashing, smashing, sweeping, attack. Everything. How to simplify, how to use. Yejing simplified every movement of his body as much as possible. After pressing down with his forehand, he felt that he would not lift it up immediately, but hit it with his backhand again. There are many dead people, and his physical strength and mobility are limited. He can only retain his own strength to the greatest extent and maximize the benefits of each attack. And the dog-beating stick in his hand is also aimed at the legs of the dead people. Every attack is accompanied by a dead person falling down, struggling on the ground, unable to get up. Facing the dead people with only physical strength, Yejing is as unstoppable as a god descending to the earth. Triggering the God of War combo, the power increases by 1%, the destructive power increases by 1%. Superimpose the God of War combo, the power increases by 2%, the destructive power increases by 2%. 10 layers. 20 layers. 50 layers. As Yejing's attacks become faster and smoother, the superposition speed of the God of War combo is also getting faster and faster, and his power continues to increase, pouring out of his body continuously. Cool. It's really refreshing to fight in a group. Especially fighting a group of creatures that are not as strong as you. Although Yejing felt very tired, his face showed excitement and enthusiasm without any concealment. Every man fantasizes about facing many enemies alone and killing them. And Yejing did it. Although the enemy is just a group of soulless and lifeless dead bodies. Zhao Danggong never thought that the group of dead bodies he was proud of would be vulnerable in front of Yejing. He had long forgotten that Yejing had just fought a group of wolves alone some time ago, fighting 1,000 wolves alone. In that illusion, several failures and long-term non-stop fighting allowed Yejing to achieve a great improvement in experience, and it was also actual combat experience against a group of enemies. Such a dead body without spirituality was not a match for Yejing under the violent and rainstorm-like attack. Yejing, who was a little unconfident at first, became more and more confident as more and more dead bodies fell. He relaxed his movements, which were restrained before, and his movements became larger and larger. Triggering the double attack, this attack causes 3 times the damage. Triggering the double attack, this attack causes 3 times the damage. Triggering the double attack, this attack causes 3 times the damage. The faster the attack frequency, the faster the chance and number of times the passive is triggered. Whenever the double attack effect is triggered, the field in front of Yejing is instantly cleared, and the few dead bodies that are closest to him are instantly blown away, their bodies broken into pieces, and they can't even stand up. Double attack is indeed the most practical low-level passive. On the other side, Ai Zyakui took action from behind, and her figure flashed from the shadow on the ground like a nimble spirit snake, and turned into a human form without any warning, standing upright less than 1 meter in front of Zhao Danggong. A faint green light crossed the sky, and in an instant, the moment Ai Zyakui emerged from the shadow, the green blade in her hand had already scratched Zhao Danggong's neck. Her speed was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, the knife fell. Her movements were very light, like a feather falling to the ground. The green blade that kills with blood, as long as it sees blood, it will definitely kill. At this time, Zhao Danggong had no reaction, as if he didn't care about the sudden appearance of AI Zyakoi at all, and as if he didn't care about AI Zyakoi's attack at all, he still focused on Omega's sublight. Time passed in a flash. Just when the green blade in AI Zyakoi's hand was about to scratch Zhao Danggong's neck, it suddenly stopped. The green blade stopped. AI Zyakoi's face changed slightly, and the strength in her hands increased by several points, but she couldn't move the green blade forward any further. It couldn't go in. She felt that there was an invisible wall in front of the green blade. It blocked her attack and couldn't touch Zhao Danggong's body. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Buletin Ji Bayet. Chapter 91. The corners of Zhao Xingbang's mouth raised slightly, and he looked at AI Zyakoi, who suddenly attacked without caring, showing a mocking look. I saw the majestic death energy surrounding him, and the dark death energy tightly protected his body without any gaps. The function of this black death energy is actually defense. AI Zyakoi's green blade pierced the black death energy, as if it had pierced a hard steel plate, unable to penetrate. This was something beyond her expectation. After AI Zyakoi panicked slightly, she calmed down and turned her strong body on the spot. After drawing a circle, he turned over and stabbed himself again with his backhand. Try it again. But the end is still the same, it can't be penetrated at all. The effect of the Black Death energy completely restrained AI Zyakoi. She is a killer, or an assassin. When the enemy always has extremely high defense means, she is completely useless. One hit can't hit you, but you can escape 1,000 miles. AI Zyakoi just thought about retreating to find a way to defeat the enemy, but Zhao did not give her a chance at the horizontal bar. Shrouded in darkness. Zhao Xingbang looked at AI Zyakoi with cold eyes and said 4 words lightly. Following his words, the deathly energy surrounding him suddenly vibrated, as if it had become spiritual, and pressed towards AI Zyakoi's body. Moment. AI Zyakoi's figure was surrounded by this deathly aura. AI Zyakoi frowned and her expression changed slightly. When this deathly aura enveloped her, she could clearly feel that the life force in her body was passing away. Do you know why I can absorb the energy of Omega Sublight? Zhao Horizontal Bar laughed wantonly. Because our essences are completely the same. The mysterious energy contained in the Omega Sublight can absorb the vitality of all things, and can also destroy the vitality of all things. The vitality contained in this asteroid fragment has been completely absorbed by it. And I will use all its energy for my own use. The energy he cultivates is different from that of normal people. After the transformation of the exercises passed down from their nugget sect, the aura absorbed into his body will be transformed into another aura with the aura of death. This kind of spiritual energy does not belong to the normal system, nor does it belong to the elemental system, but an extremely rare special type of spiritual energy. This is the transformed aura. He is the only successor of the nuggets for 1,000 generations, a name passed down from the previous generation. Dark spiritual energy. This is the name of the aura he is using now. And this kind of spiritual energy, combined with the secret method of their nugget gate, can actually absorb the energy of Omega Sublight. This was something he discovered accidentally. It was an accident within an accident. He discovered that this kind of spiritual energy with the breath of death could actually resonate with the Omega Sublight. Although there is only a trace of resonance, it is by relying on this resonance that he can draw the energy from the Omega Sublight and absorb it into his body. The absorption speed was very slow, but he didn't care. As long as he killed them all, there would be plenty of time. Zhao Xingbang thought this, and he first turned his attention to AI Zyakoi, who was surrounded by Black Death energy. At this moment, the Black Death energy had formed a cocoon-like thing, wrapping AI Zyakoi inside, making no sound. She's done. Zhao Xingbang thought, being completely enveloped by his dark spiritual energy, his vitality was absorbed, and then turned into dark spiritual energy, and then absorbed again, and it could not be broken at all. Later, Zhao Xingbang set his sights on Yejing again, thinking that Yejing was already dead, right? However, when he glanced over, he instantly saw a scene that shocked him. The God of War has 330 levels of combos. God of War hits 330 levels. Drink, drink, drink. Yejing's face was red, his arms were thick, green veins were popping out, and the spiritual energy in his body was surging like it was free of charge. He is now like a madman, beating the enemy from the sky with an iron rod. The God of War's combos stacked up hundreds of times, and his combat power doubled and doubled again. At this time, every time Yejing struck, the sky seemed to be shattering. When the stick was smashed down, a deep pit was created in the fragile ground, and the earth shook. The walls on the top of the canyon shook with Yejing's attack. "Call me!" Yejing roared fiercely and threw out the stick. The dead body within a 3-meter radius was directly blasted into the air and fell heavily. "It's so powerful." Yejing's eyes were red, as if he had been struck by a demon. He kept switching the dog-beating stick between his hands. After swinging out his left hand, he didn't even have time to take it back. He directly moved it to his right hand. Changing hands like this, no time was wasted. How is that possible? Zhao Xingbang stared, looking at Yejing, who was showing off his power with disbelief on his face. How could he be so strong? How could it be so strong? In just a few minutes, his hundreds of dead energy bodies were about to be wiped out by Yejing. Immortal. I was beaten until I couldn't stand up anymore. Why did I care whether I died or not? What's going on? Zhao Xiangbang's face turned gloomy. He had no idea that the seemingly ordinary Yejing could actually unleash such frightening fighting power. It has to be said that he is still a small person and only uses some garbage to fight against the enemy. This is no longer confidence, but arrogance. Just when Zhao Xingbang's face was turning gloomy and dark, Yejing's second clearing was completed. The first time, I faced 1,000 wild wolves in the illusion. It was very hard and I failed several times. I almost died before I could clear the field. This time, it was much easier. When Yejing knocked the last dead body away, a feeling of fatigue came over him quietly, and the dog-beating stick in his hand stopped involuntarily. Can't stop? Yejing suddenly thought that his God of War combo was still in the superposition state, thanks to hundreds of dead bodies, which allowed him to superimpose hundreds of layers. If this breaks, it will be a big loss. Yejing looked down, and then his eyes lit up, and the dog-beating stick in his hand lightly hit another immobile dead person. God of War combo superimposed 520 layers. Keep superimposing.